Hey sponsors, I want to bring you up to speed on something that you probably need to know sooner than later. Just like a lot of you, I've been watching the developments taking place here in North America regarding the current resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Delta variant. And I've been listening to a lot of your concerns, and more importantly, I've been spending a lot of time on my knees talking to God about what this might mean for the ministry this fall. As you know, we've been planning to bring back live sponsorships this fall. It was our deepest desire. And right now at this moment, we find ourselves at this really important crossroads. As of this moment right now, 98% of the counties in America have COVID surges. And you've likely noticed that after a few weeks of relief, all across the country, masks are starting to make this huge comeback, along with some mandates in places. In fact, over the last 3 weeks, I've seen more and more stories, and I've seen more and more institutions that are requiring these things again, and people are starting to whisper about lockdowns. Hospitals across the nation are canceling their elective surgeries right now because they need the beds for all the new COVID cases yet again. And in some places like Massachusetts, I'm sure you saw this, 74% of these new COVID cases have been among fully vaccinated people. So the CDC is now grappling with whether or not to recommend a third shot because of all this uncertainty. Now, I guess a part of me isn't really surprised because, well, our church has been through this kind of stuff before. Go back to 1918 when the Spanish flu was making the rounds, and a lot of our churches were actually closed for 2 full years. I went to the archives and looked. And so I suppose the fact that we're getting a second surge right now, a year and a half in, as we head into the fall, well, it was somewhat predictable. It seems like it's exactly what happened the last time around. So here's the decision that we're faced with. People all over the place are right now canceling their fall public events. It's happening here in the county I live in too. They're just canceling them because it seems obvious to a lot of folks that the pandemic is now going in the wrong direction again. It's happening right here in Colorado, where the surge is probably one of the smallest and it's just barely begun. Airline loyalty programs just extended their status for all their passengers by yet another year because it seems obvious to them that travel is going to get shut down again. So basically across the nation, everybody's bracing themselves for another round of what we had to live through last year. And it's starting to look like the fall might not be everything that we hoped for. So as it stands right now, we're running the very real risk that we're going to come to our live sponsorship events this fall and suddenly find out we're not allowed to have them. And we might only get a few days' notice. So personally, I'd hate to forge ahead and have different venues suddenly tell me that the state or county has tightened restrictions and either we've got to cancel the meeting at the last minute or just let 25% of the people in. We know what happened last time around and it seems like it's gearing up to happen again. What happens if we suddenly find ourselves unable to travel and come to your location? And when that happens, we're going to be in serious trouble because now it's too late to make different plans. On top of that, a lot of you simply don't feel comfortable traveling or going to intimate public events yet in light of what's going on. I understand why. So recently I've been asking myself a very important question, and the question is this. If this was my personal event and I was spending my personal money knowing what I know right now today, would I move ahead? And I had to tell myself, no, I wouldn't. I mean, if this was a family wedding or something for the fall and I wouldn't move ahead. So then I have to ask, why would I take a chance with God's money? It's a question that's haunted us here at the VOP for quite a bit because we take finances very, very seriously. The dollars you give, they're meant for soul winning, and I've always been determined that none of them gets wasted, and I mean ever. So we've got to make a decision, and we have to do it now because it's so close and there's so much riding on this. We've got venues to set up, we've got travel to plan, and we have this giant question mark over all of it right now. And after missing last year, what I really, really wanted was to meet with you in person because not having sponsorship in person last fall was, well, it's not ideal. But because it's God's money and I'm not willing to gamble with what belongs to the Lord, and because we're running out of time to make responsible decisions, I mean, we've held out as long as we possibly dare. We've come to the conclusion that we really have no choice this fall but to go virtual again. Now, of course, that's disappointing because it would have been a lot more fun to meet in person. But there are some upsides to this. Upside number one, we can now expand the program to include more of the weekend and actually spend more time together looking at more stuff, studying together longer, in spite of the fact that we're meeting online. So I'll be inviting you to join Gene and me at home personally with us as we welcome in the Sabbath on Friday night as a family. We'll do it together, and it's going to be far more intimate than anything we could have hoped to do on the road. Sabbath morning, I'll be opening God's Word, and I'll have more time to do it. And then Gene and I together will be giving you a comprehensive update on the way that God has been blessing your support of this ministry. Number two, the second upside, and this is a big, big one. This is going to give you an opportunity to invite your friends to join us. When we meet in person, we can't just accommodate everybody at the last minute, and we can't involve people who just want to come and have a look because of all of the technicalities and the costs. But this year, you can invite your friends to come and experience the Voice of Prophecy for themselves. And this time around, the more, the merrier. Right now, Gene and I are pouring our hearts into this new approach this fall. We're changing gears right now and working day and night. I know the first time around when we went online, there were some issues because we were just learning. And now we're aware of those issues and we're committed to creating a far better experience. So here's what we're going to do. You'll have at least two opportunities to choose from. Either the weekend of November 5 and 6 or the weekend of November 12 and 13. I'd still like you to contact us and tell us you're planning to come and which weekend you'd like to be involved in. And then I'm looking forward to next year, 2022. I've marked my calendar already when we can be done with all this pandemic stuff and finally get back to the business of meeting together and worshiping together in person. I do think you're going to love what we're putting together right now. We're working hard on it, and you need to be involved. Those dates again, November 5 and 6 or November 12 and 13, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.